Do you even remember this move? I think you were maybe too young.
Absolutely not.
Yes, I don't want to. I don't want to age anyone.
Yeah, no.
Actually, this move happened before you were born.
Oh, great. There we go.
I know it happened before Ryan Bershinger was born. And Iowa Sam, I'm not sure exactly how old Iowa Sam is, so I'm going to just say somewhere in the neighborhood, but he would not be old enough to remember when this happened. I remember when it happened, and I'm pretty sure Isaac Lowenkron remembers when it happened. So I want to at least give the floor to him because I feel like he's the most invested to start this topic. What is today the 36th anniversary of Isaac Lowenkron?
The biggest trade in sports history, literally the greatest trade in sports history, when Wayne Gretzky, the most dominant team sport athlete of all time, was traded in the prime of his career from the Edmonton Oilers, who had won 4 out of the last 5 Stanley Cups, to Hollywood, Tinseltown, and the Los Angeles Kings.
And
So I just question here. Was this done because of Hollywood? Was this done to send him to L.A.?
The Oilers needed money, right?
The owner of the Edmonton Oilers, Peter Pocklington, desperately needed money.
Okay.
They were the dynasty in the NHL, but that did not translate to his pocketbook because of their market size.
So you trade Wayne Gretzky, who you're going to have to pay at some point, right, as well, and he goes to L.A. And really, I need Isaac here because I'm not a native Californian or from Southern California, but this changed everything in Southern California with hockey, right?
It changed everything in Southern California. It changed everything in the Sun Belt. Barry Melrose, who a couple of years later would coach Gretzky and the Kings to the Stanley Cup Finals, said that the Wayne Gretzky trade didn't just save hockey in Los Angeles. He said it saved the National Hockey League.
There you go.
Back then, only 21 teams. If that Gretzky trade does not happen, there would be no San Jose Sharks. There would be no Anaheim Ducks. There would be no Vegas Golden Knights. There would be no Dallas Stars. It had that big of an impact.
Enormous. On the medal stand, Isaac says it wins gold. But I'm just not sure if it does win gold. And that's what I want to figure out today, is on this 36th anniversary, maybe we are prisoners of the moment, maybe we are prisoners of the anniversary, but it brings to mind, what are the actual biggest moves? And when we're talking about this and we're talking about this anniversary, I believe you were the first one to say it. What first popped into your mind? This isn't trades. This is transactions. So this can be trades. This can be player movement, free agency.
I instantly thought of Messi joining Inter Miami. I know that's super recent, but it was so big for MLS and for soccer in the U.S. And then Ryan Bershinger, our producer, brought up David Beckham, and I was like, yeah, he maybe started this, but the effect is not the same.
I don't want to say like Beckham walked so Messi could run.
But sort of.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's like the feeling that I got for it. I went to an LA Galaxy game.
Yeah.
So like that's enough, like just Beckham was playing, so I ended up it made reason for me to go. Now, the thought process of bringing old European stars over to a new league in the United States, the actual growth of the sport has its huge dynamics. And the Galaxy were good. They were, I mean, and Beckham was, even in his later years, is probably better than most, maybe if not all of the players in the MLS at the time. But in terms of like where the league has gone, like even Messi comes over here in the waning years of his career, and then is immediately the best player, and the past year, or whatever it's been, has been a bit of history. I do think that your point is well taken, that it's under consideration. The biggest move that I looked at, and I believe that others would probably feel this, when LeBron left Cleveland for Miami.
Yeah.
Like
definitely.
And it's not the return trip to Cleveland, even though he won a title. It was everything that came with it.
Right.
It really did feel like it changed the game. We blame LeBron for the big three, and even though I don't think big threes really work and there were only 2 titles. There were 4 straight trips to the NBA Finals for LeBron there, and it also brought in a true villain team in the NBA, the ramifications of how other teams responded. It was just the TV aspect of it, of ripping the hearts out of Cleveland. Like, I think that is a top 3. So if we've got LeBron leaving Cleveland and the Gretzky trade, and you're trying to make it in this Olympic theme that we're tying it in on this medal stand, if you will, there's got to be one more. So we've got the biggest deal in hockey. I think it's the biggest deal in basketball. So then that leaves baseball and football.
It is the biggest deal in basketball, but because it's LeBron James, right? Because there's been so many others in basketball. I mean, we could talk Shaq, whether you want to say Shaq from the Magic to the Lakers or from the Lakers to the Heat. I feel like that's also a really big one.
Yeah,
but it's like LeBron's name, the decision,
yes,
the TV.
Absolutely.
But I will say that him going to the Lakers, I feel like in a way even diminishes what he did going to Miami. Like, if he would have stayed there and then gone back to Cleveland and just stayed on the East, I feel like it had so much weight. Now that he's gone to the Lakers, I'm like, well, I mean, in hindsight, I don't know if this was that big of a deal.
I think people forget the Lakers championship at times when you're talking about LeBron and his titles. You forget that he has 4 NBA titles. I think that sometimes we even just pass over because we remember Cleveland being the 3rd. I would also put the Durant to Golden State.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if there was a runner-up, that would be it for what it changed, but it doesn't rise to the level of LeBron going on national TV, taking these meetings leading up to what he was going to decide in free agency. The Heat contingent are there. There's the Knicks contingent. The Cavs were able to speak with him. There were all those things that were, like, leading up to the actual decision, which then allowed the decision to be such a big deal.
Right. It was all, like you just said, everything leading, the drama kept surrounding that moment because we weren't sure what was he going to do? What is he going to do? I feel like a little different than the Wayne Gretzky situation. Yeah. Like, this one just, it's LeBron. He loves the attention. So he, stretched it out as long as he could.
We'd love to hear what you think are the biggest moves that we've seen in sports on this anniversary of Gretzky's trade to the LA Kings. Hit Monty up at Monty Bolaños. You can find me at Dan Beyer on Fox. Would love your input. Here's the deal with football, because you talk about recency bias. Mm-hmm. I think if you would argue, there could be a point where if we were brainstorming, if we were just trying to come up with a bunch of different NFL deals, Tom Brady leaving the Patriots for the Buccaneers is a big deal. But I think there's recency bias. And honestly, while he got another championship, I don't know if it really had the lasting effect as a couple of other deals have. In football, I think that there are 2 deals. And again, sorry, kind of predates your guys' time. One was in free agency, and it was Reggie White leaving the Philadelphia Eagles for the Green Bay Packers. Reggie White was the defender for Philadelphia, minister of defense, leader of that defense. But also now you have free agency in the NFL, players being able to sign with the teams that they want, change the NFL, and then he goes to Green Bay and really revitalizes the entire Green Bay Packers organization. It was a huge, huge deal. So just of it being free agency comes to the NFL and Reggie White leaves the Eagles to the Packers is a big enough deal. But honestly, I think the biggest deal in all is the Herschel Walker trade. And it is still talked about today because it set up the Dallas Cowboys for their great championships. Right. And Herschel Walker was such a name in the 1980s, whether it be at Georgia winning the Heisman Trophy, and then him in the USFL, and then coming to the National Football League and being the piece that he was for the Cowboys and having the Cowboys involved. I would actually put the Herschel Walker trade above Reggie White signing with the Green Bay Packers, because it is still, when we have a lopsided trade in Major League Baseball, it's, hey, Herschel Walker trade. This is a Herschel Walker sort of deal. What kind of package? Well, you need a Herschel Walker sort of package. But it completely reshaped the Cowboys franchise, and Herschel Walker was a big name at that time. And so I think the Herschel Walker trade, probably the biggest move that we've had in the National Football League.
Well, again, we weren't around for that. I don't know. I was thinking Randy Moss. Minnesota Vikings.
Sure.
Oakland Raiders.
Well, yes, when he went to the Patriots. But the thing when he went to the Patriots, he was soured on.
Yeah.
And Brady and the Patriots revitalized his career because he went to Oakland, and he turned his career around, and obviously had the record-setting year with the New England Patriots. Right. It was a huge deal. Baseball-wise,
there's a couple, I think, in baseball.
Ryan Bershinger is our executive producer. I thought A-Rod signing with the Rangers. I'm bringing Bersh in on this.
Yeah.
For some reason, that was just huge for the amount of money that he got, for the young star that he was at the time. I don't think it would top Gretzky or Herschel Walker or LeBron by any means, but when I think of like enormous baseball deals, A-Rod is one of those. That's just him leaving Seattle, and it wasn't even for the Yankees.
No.
It wasn't Ken Rosenthal, breaking any news or this and that during the World Series. It was, A-Rod leaves for the Texas Rangers, and that was a huge deal back in the day.
No, I agree. What we don't realize is A-Rod was 25 his first season with the Rangers. That's amazing for somebody to hit free agency at that age with the amount of talent. I mean, Juan Soto's going to basically do that next, but it was a gigantic shift in terms of what it meant for the league because of just how much money he got out of that deal. It was incredible. When I think of baseball transactions, and I understand that none of us were alive at this time, and it's different because he wasn't who he was yet, but you can't tell the story of baseball, the history of baseball, without Babe Ruth going from the Red Sox to the Yankees. And just what that meant for both of those franchises for a century. It's the fact that we all know about it now. Again, Babe Ruth was a very good player when he was with the Red Sox. He was a two-way player, but he didn't become Babe Ruth, the legend, until he was a Yankee.
Sure.
And it completely, of course, set forth the two franchises in completely different directions for the next century, really.
When that trade went down, I read about this. It actually broke Twitter. It did. It was crazy. I wasn't around. It just
what was it called back then?
It's called carrier pigeons. That's where they got the logo.
That's a very fair point. That would trump, and I'll tell you what. If we're talking about it, 100 years, later, that it does carry the weight. So here you got Gretzky, you got Herschel Walker, you got LeBron, and you got Babe Ruth. Like there are other baseball deals.
What about Ohtani, guys?
I mean, yeah, but Ohtani, I think we're having a different conversation about it in a couple of years, seeing what he does with the Dodgers. I was thinking of David Ortiz, Big Papi, going to the Red Sox.
But again, at the time, he wasn't David Ortiz.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
But that's right. And that's what I mean about, like, with Ohtani, maybe we're having a different conversation in a couple of years. Yeah. But right now, we don't know exactly what's happening with the Dodgers.
There's, if Isaac, you're going to be the voice of reason. And I know that you put Gretzky on top, but who's the odd one out of the Herschel Walker, Babe Ruth, LeBron, and the Gretzky deals? Who doesn't meddle in this?
I would say Herschel Walker because of the drama and the spectacle around it. From a football standpoint, it was one of the most consequential trades in sports history. I mean, it directly led to the Cowboys winning 3 Super Bowls in a 4-year span, but it didn't have the cultural or media drama as the other ones. I mean, the teletype machines and the carrier pigeons back in the roaring 20s. I mean, the newsboys on the corner, extra, read all about it. That was a big deal, and it would have been a huge deal if there was sports talk radio back then.
It was, gosh, I just have a tough time taking it off of the list, but to the point that Gretzky saved the league. I think LeBron, I actually feel that the free agency now should be a week long of TV shows. Just like Paul George should have had a decision where he announced it. I'm sorry, it's just sports. If you want to burn jerseys or do whatever, I think it's a much better option. But I would put Babe Ruth gold. I would put Gretzky silver, LeBron bronze.
Okay.
That's what I would do.